You're listening to the Fresh Hell podcast. Fresh Hell contains stories of a disturbing and often graphic nature and is intended for a mature audience. Please don't let your kids listen to this, or they might turn out like us. Hi, I'm Annie from the US.
And I'm Johanna from Austria, and you're listening to your favorite international podcast.
A couple of weeks ago, we told you about the murder of Kellie Jean Poppleton, which remains a cold case. The episode included parts of an interview we were able to do with Kellie's sister, Amanda. Today, we would love to present to you the entire conversation. Amanda talks with us about what she remembers about her sister, how her parents changed after the horrible tragedy of losing their teenage daughter, and about some of the latest developments in the case. If you have any information that could help solve the murder of Kellie Jean Poppleton, please call the Alameda County Sheriff's Office at 510-272-6878 or use the anonymous tip line at 510-667-3622.
Before we start, I would just like to give you a very quick update on Jam. So for those of you who don't know, roughly 3 weeks ago, I was browsing through a Beagle group on Facebook and someone mentioned canine Lafora disease. And honestly, it immediately rang a bell. Like, I had heard about it years ago. It's a very rare disease that mostly affects only a handful of breeds, and Beagle being among the most affected. It's a genetic neurodegenerative disorder, and unfortunately, there is no cure and it's not good. So I read about it again a couple of weeks ago, and the symptoms I read were pretty spot on with what I experienced with Jam. And so we had him tested, and yes, unfortunately our fears were confirmed. Jam tested positive for Lafora, which is absolutely devastating news. But I'm not gonna lie, it's also kind of a relief to finally have a diagnosis. And the good news is that I already got an appointment with a vet neurologist at the VetMed University Clinic next Thursday. Also, once more, big shout out and a huge thank you to Doug. He's a very attentive listener who often sends us very informative emails with his thoughts on episodes, and he had heard about the symptoms I described with Jam, and he absolutely put 2 and 2 together and informed me of Lafora. So Doug, really thank you. If I would have not read about it only a few days prior to your email, you would have been the one who would have put me on the right track. And I'm so thankful to have listeners like you who are paying attention and listening and trying to help. Thank you so much for that. All right, that's it. I will keep you posted and updated as we go.
We really have the best listeners. Thank you, Doug. And, Johanna, all I can say to you about this sad news with Jam is I'm very glad that he has the amazing parents that he does in you and Philip, because you have been such a tireless advocate for him, not just in paying very close attention to your dog and noticing when there was a problem, but really going above and beyond trying to figure out what was wrong with him until you did get an answer. And he's going to have just as amazing a life as he has had up until this point because of you, Yeah, keep us posted. We love him. And for now, we hope you find this interview with Amanda as informative as we did when we had the honor to speak to her about this incredibly tragic loss. And we will, of course, be back next week with another brand new, terrible case.
On 2nd of December 1983, police in Alameda County, California, received a call that there was an unconscious woman on the side of Kilkerry Road. When they arrived, EMTs noted the young woman was still bleeding and bags were removed from her head for emergency treatment. But despite their best efforts, the young woman would be pronounced dead at the hospital, the victim of a brutal beating and sexual assault. When they found no identification on the young woman, they appealed to the news, and that's when the parents of recently missing 14-year-old Kellie Jean Poppleton realized their worst fears were true. After a false confession by a 13-year-old girl led the case down the wrong path, the case went cold. Recent advances in DNA technology have revealed new clues about the killer who maybe did not act alone, and so the hope remains that this case will someday be solved. Today we are honored to speak with Kellie's sister Amanda Graves, who was only 3 when her older sister was taken from the family. Amanda shares with us the impact on her family and her thoughts on the case today.
Welcome, everybody. Today,
Hi.
hello. We have a very special guest today. We are talking with Amanda Graves. She is a podcast listener, a wonderful human being from the interactions we've had with her in our Facebook group. And recently we realized that she is the sister of a young woman who was murdered and whose murder has never been solved. And so Amanda today is here to talk about the unsolved murder of her older sister, Kellie Poppleton. So welcome, Amanda. We're so glad that you're here to talk to us.
Hello. Thank you for having me and letting me talk about my sister.
We're thrilled to do it. So tell us a little bit about your family throughout your early childhood, because this happened when you were pretty young, but tell us even before you were born, what sort of people were your parents and your older sister, Kellie?
Well, my parents were, before everything, they were happy, funny. My dad was really liked to play jokes on people, used to tell funny stories, and was just like the comedian of the friend group. And they did fun things together. They used to go square dancing. That was a big thing in the 80s, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And line dancing. And, they were just, happy. Kellie was a funny little spunky girl. She liked the Oakland A's, the baseball team. She was the fun kid, Everybody just absolutely loved her.
I've seen a few photographs of her, of Kellie, from the Paula Zahn interview. She was gorgeous, like golden skin, shiny brown hair, big eyes, and seriously perfect eyeliner. Like,
right.
If they were casting pretty young California teenager for the daily after school special, it's her. Like, sold, cast, done. She was gorgeous. She just looks like the sort of older sister that would teach you how to do your eye makeup and tell you like the real deal about boys, like stuff your mom wouldn't necessarily share. She looks like fun. Yeah.
Yeah, the hip, cool, happening older sister,
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
How much older was she than you?
She was 11, so we're like 10 years apart.
Oh, that's like me and my sister, almost.
Yeah, she was born April 13th, 1969, and then I was born in 1980. So that's a lot of math.
Wow. So you're a little bit younger than us, and she's a little bit older than us.
But, she took care of me a lot, so she got all the good genes in the family. I'm like, damn, I didn't look that good at 14.
Nobody looked that good at 14. Honestly, she was a freak of nature. That is supposed to be the awkward, terrible, horrible years, and she is just shining and glowing and gorgeous.
Yeah, even in the pictures I have of her being goopy, I'm like, man, why didn't I get that? What
Stop
happened?
it right now. You are equally gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. She'd love your very, very, I think the last time I saw you, you had like bright turquoise hair. It's gorgeous. So tell us more about what your family life was like when you were kids growing up.
Like, they were fun. Like, my parents went and did things. Kellie took care of us, and she loved to babysit. Like most kids, her age, they don't want to babysit their younger sibling. Kellie loved to watch us. Even some of her friends, at that time, they've messaged me and they're like, Kellie absolutely loved to watch you. She loved being a big sister. And, yeah, like Halloween, she called a friend up and was like, hey, we're going out for Halloween, come on. And her friend thought they were going to go party. Well, it was to take me trick-or-treating.
Oh,
That's so cute.
And she was like, even though she was expecting, a party, going out trick-or-treating with me and Kellie, she had a blast. She wasn't expecting Kellie to do that, but she was like, wow, this girl really loves her little sister.
Yeah.
And so
it's kind of the dream, having a sister that's like, if you're into dolls and things, it's kind of the dream.
So it was fun times, and like, she was a little rebellious. She was told not to play with the shrinky dinks. Her and my cousin blew the door off the oven.
No.
Yeah, while my mom was napping. And so, yeah, spunky little kid.
Yeah.
Typical.
Typical 80s,
Yeah.
70s, 80s kids.
Yeah, it was a different
Yeah.
time, so the rules were a little different back then.
Absolutely. Everything was different.
Yeah.
Everything was different. So, speaking of everything being different, can you tell us about the day that everything changed for you?
Yeah, the story I was told growing up was they took Kellie to school. She went to school, everything was fine. She was told to come straight home after school. Well, she didn't. She had stopped at the like a gas station type thing, and that was the last place anybody had seen her. Nobody heard from her since then. And then my mom and my dad, who's Kellie's stepdad, went out looking for her, couldn't find her. Later on, my mom was watching the news, saw a report about a report of a woman they had found, and my mom instantly knew it was Kellie. And she sent my dad, and my uncle went down there and identified the body. That's the story I was told growing up. There's a little bit more to it.
Oh, there's a lot more.
My mom couldn't identify her. She couldn't do it. So my dad and my uncle were the ones to do it. The next day when the news broke that they were going to identify her, they had to go find my cousin, the same cousin that blew up the oven with her, to find him to make sure he didn't accidentally see the news report, because they didn't want him to find out that way. And they took me, and I was sent away. When the news report broke, a shitstorm happened.
Yeah.
The media was not kind back then. Police and the sheriffs got into a fight in the mortuary.
Oh.
Yeah, they got into a fist fight over who was going to investigate the case.
Over jurisdiction?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Allegedly, the police, the two different investigating groups, got into a physical altercation when they were at the... Wow. As if things aren't stressful enough.
Yeah. They're fighting within each other. Yeah, that was just a madhouse. And what I later had found out was, okay, my parents worked for the ambulance company. My mom was the dispatcher, because the ambulance company is not like, the paramedics or whatever we have today.
Mm-hmm.
Ambulance company, they just go pick up people or bodies and go away. Well,
yeah,
was the dispatcher for the ambulance company. She took the call from the 911 whatever that said that they have the body of a missing or of a woman, because they thought she was an older woman.
They did, yeah.
She didn't look 14.
She didn't. In the photographs that I've only seen like 2 or 3 pictures of her, that she looked older. She looked mature for her age. And I hate saying that, because I want to just be clear that we are in no way victim blaming, because I think we have some maybe discussions later on about the media and that sort of thing. But yeah, she just looked older than 14. Yeah, she was beautiful.
And if back then, people looked different. And if you look at now, they look like kids. Well, back then, kids look like little adults. So,
yeah.
and it's a different time.
It was. It was. And your mom was working, so she was found by a motorist, correct, on the side of the road?
Yeah. And so the guy that found her called 911. The 911 calls the ambulance company to send the ambulance out or whatever. My mom was the ambulance dispatcher that sent the ambulance out.
Not knowing it was your sister.
Yeah.
Not knowing it was her
Oh
daughter.
my God.
Yeah. It was just a unidentified adult female because she thought my daughter or my sister was at school or at home. She was supposed to be at home, but she wasn't. And so there's some things that people think that she was the 911 operator. No, she was the ambulance dispatcher.
So she didn't realize until later when they were explaining about on the news, she'd seen the report, right?
Yeah.
Because they had gone to the police initially, right? Yeah. When she didn't come home from school.
Yeah. Well, I found that out later. They never told me that they had reported her missing.
Oh, I see. So this is back. I don't want to jump the gun on your story. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I forget where I'm at now.
No, that's all right. You were just telling us the truths that you learned when.
Yeah.
And so one of those things was learning that your mother was the ambulance dispatcher.
Yeah.
Who took the call, and there were a lot of other things as well. So.
Yeah, that was one that I had found out as an adult because mom didn't really talk much about that night. So growing up, I had to piece things together.
Yeah, I can imagine. It was such a horrible thing. You just couldn't talk about it. It was so terrible. So where does that leave you? You know?
Yeah. All I know about that night was, and then everything just blew up.
Yes.
With the investigation.
Yeah. What did they find? How did the investigation go? You said the media was unkind?
Yeah, there was a lot of victim blaming, which was, I don't want to say standard for the 80s, but, if you really look at it, it kind of was.
Yeah, it was more normal back then. Thank God times changed when it comes to that. I mean, there's still a lot of victim blaming going on, but I think we're on a better track right now than it used to be. Yeah.
Victim blaming is so impactful that even when I was growing up, it was, don't wear that, it's not safe.
Yeah.
And,
got attacked.
Exactly. Not because they thought it was inappropriate, but because they knew other people would say something.
Yeah. Don't talk, it's the whole don't talk to strangers, don't do this, don't do that. Well, you're going to be a victim, you're going to be a victim.
Yeah, but the thing is that it was don't talk to strangers, but also don't be rude to grown-ups.
That's
as
right.
a kid back in the 70s and 80s.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Respect authority figures and...
Which was every grown-up. Every grown-up was an authority figure.
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
The people that we were, taught to trust, well, it turns out that they weren't people we really should have been.
When they realized it was her, they started the investigation. What kind of evidence did they actually have to go on?
Well, when she was found, because the motorist that found her, he thought it was a mannequin. Well, he got closer and realized it was a girl. And so, because she had a bag wrapped around her head, and there's more to that. I find out later that there's more wrapped around her and stuff. So I always thought it was just the bag, the trash bag, and the tie. There's more. There was the trash bag, a sweater, the duty-free bag from Korea, a AV cord, like from a TV, and a tie. And the sweater was made in Korea.
Okay.
But when they found her, they just left all that evidence there. The paramedic on the side of the road, yeah. They loaded her up because she was still alive when she was found. I later found out.
Well, I would say she was still
breathing, kind of.
Technically, yeah. I don't want you to think that she was still suffering in any way because
it was still bleeding, but her soul was gone.
Exactly. Yes.
So they tried to save her. Yeah.
She couldn't be
When they
saved.
loaded her up and sent her to the hospital, they just left everything there. They didn't bag anything until the investigation team came, several hours. So,
A lot of evidence was lost.
Well, I would say so, because
Yeah.
people just walking all over
And I can understand that. If there's even the smallest chance, because you don't know until you know. We know now that there's nothing they could have done, but at the time they didn't know. So, of course, they were going to do everything they could. It's just,
it's one of those hindsight type things, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And it was a really remote area, right? Like not.
Yeah, it's not traveled. It's one of those you have to know the area you have to know where you're going, basically. But yeah.
Especially back then when there's no, Google Maps and
Yes or nothing.
There wasn't even MapQuest.
No.
It was just like an atlas.
You had to go old school and pull
That's
out
right.
maps.
Yeah, you had to get out and ask strangers at the gas station.
Yeah, I still do that.
Same.
Probably not smart, but yeah. I still do it because I get lost, even with the GPS.
Yeah, me too.
Coming home from work, I'm like, oh crap, wrong turn. Like, now where am I at? But yeah, so everything was left at the scene and partially contaminated.
Okay.
And for them so they come up and bag all that stuff up later. And I think that's where the fight happened. The allegedly fight, because stuff was taken. Mom said there was stuff that happened that wasn't supposed to happen, but she wouldn't specify what. Like, search warrants weren't signed the way they were supposed to. Buggery in the investigation.
Allegedly,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
my new...
From...
Yeah. Hearsay. It's just what... Yeah, of course. So, okay. So, where her body was found, they found shopping bags from the Korea duty-free, a sweater that was made in Korea that had blood on it, and then they were able to determine that she had not been murdered where she was found.
Yeah, she was... They think she was thrown from a car, killed somewhere else, and dumped there, that was the dump site.
And that it was probably two people, right? Because if you'd need one person to drive and then the other to sort of push her out of the car while it was still...
Well, they didn't think that. They were just like, what's going on? But later they're like, since there's no blood here or nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Be at least two people.
Yeah.
And that's why Trina's thing was so believable.
Right. Let's talk about do you want to talk about briefly just the cause of death and the autopsy, or would you rather not discuss that? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. She was severely beaten. Like I read, there was 32 breaks in her neck alone. And so the back of her head was, beat to hell. Like, whoever did it really, really hated her. She was sexually assaulted. And then she was, the cause of death was strangulation with like the tie, like what do they call it? A garrote?
A garrote?
Yeah. And so, So they pull DNA. They won't tell me what kind of DNA it is, but they were able to pull DNA from the suspect.
Oh, but that's great. That is in 1983 they already thought of that, because that was just when everything was starting out. And very often this kind of evidence was overlooked still.
Yeah.
Do they still have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. There's not much left of it because there's just that, and my sister was cremated.
They have run a profile, which we can get into later on, probably.
Yeah, there is one. It's in the FBI doohickey system, in their little codex system, and it's in the, the state police and the, I think they have a national program, and it's in there.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why we haven't gotten a hit yet.
Yeah.
With the DNA thing profile.
Do you want to talk about about the situation with the Trina and
Yeah, because that's like the elephant in the room. I guess I don't know. She really, really messed things up.
She did. She did. It sounds like she was kind of a victim herself, but
yeah, and I feel bad for her. And
I think I would probably blame her mother in this.
So I
situation.
think for listeners would be
we need to talk about what we're talking about.
What you're talking about, yeah.
There was a false confession. Well, they didn't know it was false at the time.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and tell us, please.
But yeah, Trina's mom had actually called and was like, "Hey, y'all need to come talk to my daughter. I think she was involved in this because Trina got into trouble for something else. I don't know what. It was never said what she got in trouble for.
Mm-hmm.
So her mom called and told the cops to come talk to her and was the one that said, my daughter did this. So her mom's the one that made her do it. For whatever reason, I don't know.
I think one of the things I saw, it might have been the Paula Zahn interview. One of the things that I had looked at, literally, I think there was one sentence in her diary that said something like, I killed her, or it killed her, or they killed, like just something, one sentence that no one in the world would think was a confession.
Yeah.
And it seemed like this mother was absolutely just crazy. A real problem. Yeah.
They did know each other, right, from school?
No, they didn't know each other.
They didn't?
No.
Oh, I thought they were like in the same school. Okay,
no.
Okay.
Yeah, they went to different schools. I don't even think Trina lived in the area.
Yeah, I don't know. But she confessed.
Yeah, she confessed, and she implicated several other people. Another 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and then the Ramirez guy, Julian, I think his name is. No relation to Richard. No, it's different Ramirez. But yeah, she implicated them and told them the cops things, but it was all superficial things. It wasn't anything that would...
No, it was all very... Basically, her story was that she and your sister had gotten involved with some guys and had gotten into sort of a drug ring. Selling drugs for people, and none of this was true. And regardless as to whether or not anything she was involved with, none of them knew nothing had anything to do with Kellie.
Yeah,
it was all nonsense. And this 13-year-old girl whose mother sort of browbeat her into a false confession.
Yeah, for whatever reason. And Trina's brother actually come out and was like, Trina wasn't even in town. She wasn't even here when this happened. So y'all are barking at the wrong tree.
False confessions this really kind of made me think of the whole making a murderer case with that kid.
And then Jesse Miss Kelly with the West Memphis 3.
It's just amazing how it just shows you how easy it is to make someone confess when they didn't do it. I think there's a real idea that if you confessed, you did it, but I think you just learn over and over and over again how often that's actually not the case.
Yeah, it's just people confess for whatever reason.
Yeah.
When they found out she was lying, they were like, how did you know this stuff? And she was like, I read the newspaper.
Yeah, it was not like she knew something that they didn't release to the public.
Yeah.
Some inside information. Like usually in so often in cases, they would hold back information to then verify if they get a confession, if it's possible that this person did it. But that was not the case here, right?
Right. Exactly. They were so, I don't want to say desperate, but to solve it, that they were just, grasping at anything they can. And so here Trina was confessing. They were eating it up.
The media must have been all over that, like in 1983, it wasn't it wasn't like something that you heard often, that one teenager kills another teenager, that it's like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, then her saying it was a drug thing.
Yeah.
It was bad. Yeah, it was not good. The family had to go into hiding and stuff. I was sent away. My parents went off the radar and they went somewhere else. And my cousin, who was her friend, he got into many fights because people were just mean and cruel. Yeah, so it was wild. And so Trina confessing and then all that being fake and lies, even though there's still some people that believe that Ramirez was involved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's some family members that still think that he knows something.
He knows something.
Even though the DNA proved that he wasn't. Again, the FBI says there were two people. And there was mysterious stains in his vehicle, which is why they concentrated so hard on what Trina had said, because Trina and Ramirez did hang out.
Right, and they thought the crime could have occurred in a car.
Yeah, they beat her in the car, and the car had been freshly washed. So that's why they were like, ooh, we've got it, and then find out. Her brother was like, no, Trina wasn't even in town.
But that took up so much time and resource.
Yeah.
From the police that had to be just incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, and that just made my family, my side, totally give up. Cops they screwed it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
Even to this day, my uncle has nothing to do with the police.
Yeah. I can imagine, yeah.
How hard that must be.
Yeah. But
is there anything else to talk about in terms of suspects that they had? Was there anyone else that was really helpful?
Well, see, at the time that Kellie was murdered, there were 3 or 4 other girls in that same area that were murdered about that same time too. And they thought they were connected. They weren't. They thought D'Angelo, what was his name? The Golden State Killer?
Golden State, yeah.
Yeah.
She may have been one of his victims because the victimology added up.
And this was all taking place in the Bay Area?
Mm-hmm. He had killed one of the other girls, but DNA ruled him out. He was the one that killed Kellie.
Yeah, they solved the other ones sort of one by one.
Yeah.
But still couldn't find an answer for Kellie.
Yeah. After that, nothing until this new profile that come out just here recently.
This is amazing. New DNA.
Yeah, the genotype of the Korean fella.
So they were basically we're seeing over and over again, right, how DNA is getting involved in solving crimes. And we've talked about it a lot on recent episodes. Most recently, Lady of the Dunes was a big one, putting a name to Christmas Doe. All of these cold cases that so many of us really thought would never be solved are being solved. So they ran the DNA that they have on the new, parameters with the killer's DNA. And it doesn't match anybody in the system, right?
Right.
And they did not find any familial hits yet on Ancestry yet, like how they found D'Angelo. That was through a familial hit. Yeah,
and that's what they were really hoping. But
that could still happen at any time.
Yeah.
It could.
At any time. People are constantly every day doing DNA and Ancestry kits. I think they're fascinating.
They are. Mine's in the system. I did the Ancestry DNA.
Yeah, it's fun, right? I think it's so fun.
To see where you pass. But the thing with this is our DNA that we're looking for is Korean.
Exactly. So that's what they were able to pull. And this is what's so interesting because
people don't do the Ancestry DNA.
They don't?
Hardly, and they don't do it like Caucasian people do because they already know their ancestry.
It's like English people don't do it either. Like none of my family, they're all like, why would we? We're just all English. We're just English all the way
here
back.
In Europe, not a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much a Northern American thing. Yeah.
It's because we're such a melting pot. Everyone here wants to know what they are. And especially with us,
Yeah, and I talked to the lady, the pair bond lady, And she said that Asian people don't do those DNA things because they can already trace their DNA. They know where they come from. Because
yeah, except we're getting more and more intermixed every day.
Yeah.
So there's still such a good chance that the killer had a kid who had a kid who fathers. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You can't rule it out, especially because this happened in America. So we know that they were here.
So there's a chance, but it's slim.
It's slim.
Better than
Yeah.
we had.
Yeah, it's slim.
You know, for the longest, we knew we had DNA. Found that out in the 90s. It's right after we moved to Arkansas. Found out that there was DNA and that they were running it.
Oh, so you found that out like post OJ.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Aunt had sent me a newspaper clipping that they were running it and stuff.
Yeah.
That happened in like 93, 94. And so since then we knew that this has been looking. And then the genotyping and all that just happened here this past year and a half, maybe 2 years
Just recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all new.
It's exciting, though. It's exciting from the prospect of just, I don't know that closure is ever really possible when someone's taken from you violently, but just to get, just to know.
Closer.
Yeah.
It's like, we know I'm not looking for a random, person. It's narrowed down a little bit.
What genotype do they think? So, probably a Korean descendant?
Yeah, someone from Korea.
92% certain that the killer was of Korean descent, with black hair, brown eyes, and light brown to fair skin with no freckles.
Yeah.
I keep in my head going back to the duty-free bag, which indicates two things: that the person recently traveled to Korea,
or they came from
living in the States, traveled to Korea to visit family, or was visiting the States, living in Korea, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They came here, did what they did, and back to Korea.
That's possible.
Yeah. Or someone, like, they looked at guys in the military.
I was just about to say, what about the military bases there?
And they didn't find any hits, and they had, I just heard that they were looking at Korean offenders in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Found 4 that were likely suspects. Tested them, DNA came back negative. So it's like back to the drawing board. But they have gone all over the country and Canada testing people's DNA.
They still are looking. It's not like they gave up. They're still on the case.
Which is great. I mean, they might have not really done everything as it should have been done back in the day, but it's heartening to know that they're still working and doing the best they can to solve this.
Yeah, because cold cases, they always work on them. They don't just shelf them, but, you know, it's good to know that they're still doing something.
Yeah.
Even though I'm still hopeful, everybody else is just kind of, they want to forget it and just move on. They've accepted the fact that we will probably never have justice. I'm like, nope, I don't think that. Power manifestation. Eventually we will get justice. We will know.
Good for you.
Could you tell us about the deck of cards? Because I find that really interesting.
Oh, that they do? They release playing cards with different unsolved murders on them. And they release them, they give them to the inmates. Because the inmates have to play with cards. That's, they can't do a whole hell of a lot. They give the inmates in the jails these playing cards that have pictures of the victims, what happened, and information. And hoping that this would generate leads.
Yeah.
And it has for some cases, and
it's so smart, isn't it?
It's
so
such
smart.
a great idea. Like such a simple concept, in fact, but
work.
Yeah.
It helped several, I don't know how many cases off the top of my head, but it helped and it's worked and it's helped, find new leads or whatever. But It hasn't yet for us, but, who's to say, tomorrow could be a different story.
It's true. It's true.
Definitely.
Because somebody knows something. No one can keep a secret forever.
No, that's right.
Where should people, if somebody now listens, and as you said, somebody knows something, where could people contact if they have information?
The Alameda County Sheriff's Office, and then their phone number is 510-667-3636. And, just tell them you want to talk about Kellie Poppleton. And
it's Kellie with an I-E?
Yep, Kellie with an I-E. Yep, gotta be different. I've had people message me on Facebook.
Sure.
Was on show. They find my Facebook and they're like, hey, what about this? Or I had a woman message me and was like, have they looked into foreign exchange students?
Oh.
Like, oh, that one I hadn't thought of. No,
that's smart.
That's the thing. There's so many online sleuths. I know some of them gave the whole community a bad reputation, but there are a lot of smart people out there, and it's like kind of this hive mind thing. People think of things that other people too close to the case maybe oversee or not think of.
Right. Yeah, there's some things that, seasoned veterans may miss, but,
exactly.
Every goes, hey, what about that right there? It makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And that's, part of the reason why I bug you guys a lot. Hey, talk about my sister.
That's not bugging at all. Quite on the contrary.
I feel the more I get her name out there, something will happen, or, somebody will like, hey, let's take this up. Let's dive into this and see if we can find more. It'll be, something.
And I think a lot of people can empathize and feel your heart when you are identifying yourself as sort of your sister's lantern bearer, like you're sort of the person keeping Kellie alive, remembering Kellie, not letting her just become a cold case on a shelf and talking about her. And for a lot of people, like I am that person for someone I love who passed, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of us are in exactly that same position, regardless of how we lost them. A lot of people have a hard time talking about the people that we've lost, and so I just really applaud you, like as another person who feels compelled to make sure a loved one isn't forgotten, Yeah.
It's like I understand my family's pain on why they don't want to talk about her, why they don't like it when I ask them. I understand, but then again, I'm like, that ain't me.
Right, and that's okay. That's right.
I want to remember her. I want to know these things, I'm like a greedy little gremlin. I'm like, give me all the stories. Tell me everything you know about her,
No, I can understand that so much.
And, I have a 14-year-old, and I'm just like, I'm not like...
Yeah. And what was it like growing up with... What was it like for you being a 14-year-old when your parents had gone through what they'd gone through?
Well, see, growing up, it was all I've ever known, basically. Because I'm 3, so it's always been a shadow. When she was killed, my parents changed. They completely... My dad didn't tell jokes anymore. My dad didn't really talk. What I remember of my dad didn't talk. My parents, they lived for each other. And I lived with my aunts and everyone else for, different years. And it was like they lived in their own little bubble until I got to 14. And then they were like, we're laying down the law. And I'm like, I'm almost a black belt. I can take care of myself. Leave me alone.
That must have been so hard to be in a situation, and please understand that I am in absolutely no way judging your parents, because I understand everybody and everything in this kind of situation. But the idea that of how hard it is when your parents lay down the law on like a regular sitch, like the week before you go to college, or anytime parents feel like their kids are about to take a big step into adulthood, there's that need to sort of pull back and buckle down and get controlling. So I absolutely get that. But for you, for them, it must have been tenfold. And then on your end, it must have been like, well, you weren't here for all of this other stuff, so you don't get to tell me what to do now.
Right.
I just cannot imagine that being an easy situation for anybody.
I've been running the streets since I was 10. What? I can't go down the road to get a candy bar. I don't think so,
Right.
So there were some, issues growing up, but as an adult and as a parent, I can kind of see, but then I'm like, no. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I don't want to say neglect, but it was because they shut down. They lived in their own little bubble.
Well, they were broken people.
They really were.
Yeah, who couldn't really parent anymore.
Yeah, totally. That's what it was. They shut down and couldn't. And it wasn't until I got older that they were like, they woke up. By then it was too late. I was like, I'm 15. I'm almost out the door.
It's hard because it sounds like your sister really got the idyllic, perfect childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They went traveling, and I've got pictures of them it looks like they had a fun time, but
you don't have those kind of memories with them.
No. We grew up bad.
I'm sorry. It's almost like they were the parents that she needed for the real brief time that she was here. And then now you get to be the parents that they never could to you. You get to be
the parent I needed.
Exactly right. Exactly. You get to have the childhood you didn't have with your own children, and experience that joy with them, because Lord knows that's somehow the way things go. But this is so important to talk about because
life,
It is life. And I think it's really easy to say, well, of course the family was forever shattered with that person's death, because that's always sort of true. But in this case, when we're talking about crime, especially when we're talking about unsolved crimes of this nature, of this magnitude against children, it just destroys everybody's life.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like how when we did the Halifax explosion, I was saying until I looked into it, I just didn't understand how impactful that explosion is. And I feel like that's a really similar feeling for talking to you and better understanding how much the crime against one person in a family hurts the whole family, and how that radiates outward and just ripples for generations, doesn't it?
Yeah. Right. Because I think them not telling me, just giving me the basics, I grew up thinking that this dude was going to come after me as a child. Younger me, I wouldn't make friends because I thought I was going to get killed at 14 too. I didn't know anything else. It was, shh, don't talk about Kellie.
Yeah.
We don't talk about her because it could happen again.
How terrifying for you.
Yeah. So, and I think, I get why they don't want to talk about it, but I also think that it needs to be talked about. Hide things from your kids, but don't hide it to where it messes with their head.
Also, you're not a kid anymore,
Right. And they still hide things from me.
Yeah.
Even the cop, like, I don't want to tell you this because you're too young. And I'm like, sir, I'm 43 years old.
Yes. Yes.
Not a kid. I'm older than she is. So
yes.
Do you have the feeling that with this whole online true crime community and a lot of people just seeing it as kind of an entertainment, that this makes it even harder for you as a relative of a victim to talk about it?
That's a good question.
Not quite, because I watch true crime too. I guess my thing is different because it is entertainment, but it is also because my life is a true crime episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I always say. My life is a Lifetime movie. But I don't have a problem with it as long as people are respectful.
I think that's the key, isn't it? It's the tone that's taken. It's the... Yeah.
done right. Because, okay, my sister wasn't a perfect angel. Who was?
Who is?
Who was?
At 14, she smoked pot. So what? It's weird.
Yeah.
It's normal. Who doesn't
Sure.
smoke nowadays?
No biggie.
Then she was seen as a bad girl because she smoked Dungeons and Dragons. So,
Oh, she was into Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah. If did you watch Stranger Things?
I did. Oh, I have family that's wicked into Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
I myself am not, but I vaguely remember there being this thing in the 80s during the Satanic Panic which is right? So did people think she was worshiping Satan in the basement with her 27-sided die or whatever it is that they...
Yep. They showed it.
This is why I think it's like, I'm so glad that the world is opening up to everybody else these days, because it's dangerous. Ignorance is dangerous as hell.
Yeah, right. I live in
right?
Tell me.
But the thing is, it's still here, this mindset, which I talked a lot about it with the Natasha Kampusch case, this thing that I call a perfect victim. They want a perfect victim, but there is no perfect victim because there is no perfect humans out there. And that's always when people then, or the media, starts to turn against the people who actually would need the help and the protection.
Exactly.
This is, yeah.
But because, she played D&D and smoked pot, she was a troubled youth. And
oh my goodness, can you imagine? I think that's what most parents would just like, please Lord, just let them get into D&D and smoke pot in the basement, right? Like,
seriously.
I think that's kind of what most parents, listen, don't come for me. I'm joking. And also not joking. I wouldn't, But,
I have 4 kids. I would much rather them smoke weed in the basement and play
right?
and go.
Don't touch any white powders of any kind. The fentanyl is on everything. Dear God.
Go rob banks and tearing up stores and
You're smoking weed in the basement and using your imagination to play a multiplayer cooperative game. Like, great.
Yeah.
Great. I got bigger things to worry about. Clean up the basement when you're done.
Right. Let me go bake you some cookies. You all got
right? Yes. Tell us more about Kellie. So she loved D&D.
Yeah.
She liked to smoke a little weed. She definitely sounds like my kind of people.
Horror movies. The Poltergeist.
Oh, she was into Poltergeist.
Yes, she scared my mom with that movie.
I love that.
She turned the TV on the Snowy Channel. Those pink phones like Carol Ann set me in front and said, Mama, come in here. My mom comes in and Kellie had taught me to say, there he is. My roof and freaked out because my mom doesn't do horror. So
she's one of us, totally.
She would have been totally one of us. I think to this day, growing up, she influenced me, and that's why I am the way I am, because she influenced me as a kid, and she's still doing it.
Do you actively, vividly remember things about her, or is it more that you remember the things that you later heard about her and the stories and the photos? Because you were very young when all this happened.
Yeah, I was 3. I have one memory of me. I was actually climbing over the crib to mess with our little brother, and she yelled at me and spanked my butt. There's a video somewhere that I saw when I was younger, and we're playing outside. A ball rolls into the street. I go after it, and she grabs me by my hair to pull me out of the street as a car comes. So she saved me.
To save you.
Yeah. So that was on a video somewhere, but the only real memory I have is her whooping my butt.
I love that. That's actually one of my first memories, too.
Yeah. So I remember her yelling something at my mom, like, Mandy won't leave the baby alone, or something like that. And so she whooped me. But yeah, no, she was the cool, awesome, Fast Times at Ridgemont High was her movie.
Mm-hmm.
Spicoli was her man.
Spicoli. Okay.
Yeah. She likes Spicoli is what Mama said. When we were watching Stranger Things, the character Eddie,
Yes.
I was like, that was Kellie. I
That
guarantee
was her type right there.
it was her. That was her standing on the table.
Oh, I love that.
Because, she was very passionate and spunky. She fought back.
Yeah.
I fully believe she went down fighting.
I'm sure that's probably why she had so many injuries to her head. I'm sure they were just trying to knock her out as fast as they could.
Probably, and she was probably smart ass, so she was probably talking shit the whole time.
I mean, she made it as unpleasant as possible for everybody for as long as she could.
She had a mouth on her, Mama said. She could talk shit with the best of them. So, yeah.
I love that. Do you ever feel like you get signs from her? Like, is there anything specific or do you feel like there's a song that always makes you think of her, or like, what's her thing?
My oldest daughter was born on her birthday. She was born on Kellie's 40th birthday, and let me tell you, that girl is something else.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I like to think Maddie would have, if Kellie they would have been two peas in a pod, but yeah.
Amazing.
Like, my kids will do something, and I'll go, oh, I bet you that's my sister right there.
Oh.
Or like, I'll hear AC/DC, that was her band. Mom said she used to draw the lightning bolts everywhere. So, and then D&D. So we got into D&D because she's into D&D. I do little things like that to feel closer to her.
Keep her around. Yeah. I love that so much.
And like, my kids all know about her. I don't hide things from them. They watch the Paula Zahn show. They know everything. And
yeah, what was that like? Paula Zahn that was the one program that I watched, and is it on HBO Max, I think?
Yeah, it's on HBO Max.
HBO Max.
I think it's on the Investigation Discovery, found on YouTube. That was interesting.
You look gorgeous, can I just say? Like, your hair it reminds me of my friend Thea's hair, this like gorgeous, vibrant turquoise. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's changed colors since then a couple of times. We do lots of crazy stuff with our hair here.
I love it. I love it. But how was it being with Paula Zahn? How was she? Did you really talk to her, or was it?
No, because it was still during COVID. It was back when things were starting to come back to life.
I see. So it's like what we're doing right now, like her in her studio and you remote. Okay.
Yeah, we went to a hotel. It was actually the hotel I honeymooned at when I got married. So we went there and they booked a conference room and had a big ass TV and lights and all kinds of stuff. And it was really bright and really nerve-wracking.
Oh, wow.
But it was fun. And she just pops up and talks a little bit and then pops out of there. And then they do the B-roll footage, which is kind of nerve-wracking. That meme that was in the group about looking at your memory at the dock or whatever, reminiscing about your murdered loved one at the dock. It's in the group. Anyway.
Oh, I know which one you mean. Yeah, yes.
Do that. I wasn't at a dock, but I was in a window facing a wall.
Okay, I know what you're referring to. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I tell you to look solemnly at pictures and stuff, and I was like, I laugh too much. I'm a nervous laugher.
I am also a nervous laugher.
And so, during the interview,
come off as a sociopath.
I cuss a lot. And so I'm like, shit, they're going to have to edit a lot. I'm sorry. We cuss a lot in the South. We like our sentence enhancers. And so it was really hard to look at pictures and look all sad and not laugh. Maybe I'm weird, but I don't get sad like most people. It's just something I'm used to. Because it's my whole life. And
right. And this wasn't a traumatic event for you. This was a traumatic event. I mean, it was indirectly, but it was.
I grew up with it.
Exactly. But the actual. Right.
I
don't know if anything.
If that makes any sense whatsoever. Right.
No, it makes absolute sense. Yeah. It absolutely makes sense.
okay, let me look sad, looking at these pictures, and then
No.
Which makes it even harder. I don't know if you sound like you're like my mom, for example. She always laughs when everybody is sad or if something is really serious, like during weddings and funerals, and then she just looks around and looks at all the faces who are so somber and completely
Starts laughing.
Yeah.
And then gets caught in a giggle loop, and then you can't stop
Yeah,
laughing
then you
because
can't
the
stop
laughter
and
is
it's all over.
inappropriate. It's
Yeah.
all, yeah.
funeral because you're giggling too much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't done that at all.
I did haunted houses for the first time this past October with my brother, and that's when I learned that I laugh hysterically when I'm afraid. And now Paul and my sister don't want to do haunted houses without me anymore because my maniacal laughter is
It probably scares
more entertaining than the haunted house. I scare the people trying to scare me. If we ever do a live show, you'll probably hear it because it's definitely like a nervous thing. I don't know. It's you'll see it at some
I
point.
do scary clown deliveries for work, so
You do scary clown deliveries for work?
yeah, we do. Yeah, during Halloween, I dress as a scary clown and I deliver donuts.
Oh my God, you're living your best life. I want to live in your delivery zone.
I'm like 5, well, shorter than 5'2", so like I'm under 5 foot, so I'm tiny.
Cute little monster.
Yeah, and I go, hey, give me a kiss, and I chase them around. Yeah.
Oh my God, my Great Dane would knock you down so fast and give you a kiss. You wouldn't even know it hit you.
Yeah, so
I love that.
I do wacky shit, so
good for you. Listen, you only live once, and we never know how much time we have. So,
exactly. So live it while you can.
Live it while you can.
And go running down through the market.
That's right. Dress like a monster and bring people cookies.
Right. Exactly. So
why not?
I like to think I'm living for just me and Kelly.
Yeah.
So
good.
I do wacky shit because she's not here to do it.
That's right.
But yeah, the poll was on. It was fun, and I liked it, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
And but it was really weird.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah, it's hard to look out a window that's facing a brick wall and look sad.
Yeah.
I'll just pretend.
It was important. It was good. I was glad I watched it. It's worth watching. It was interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't know it was airing, and my cousin called me and was like, hey, you're on TV. What am I on TV? What are you talking about? I'm like, oh,
Kelly would be very, very proud of you.
Yay. I like to think so.
Your eyeliner looked amazing.
Oh, I was late.
Just like hers.
Yeah.
What should our listeners know? Can you give us the information again on who to contact with information?
It's the Alameda County Sheriff's Office at 510-667-3636, or they can message me on Facebook.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, and worst case, just their local authorities, right? Yeah, where they would get further information. Yeah.
Yeah, this...
And give them her name. The FBI, I know the FBI is involved. The BAU was involved. And I was like, what? So, yeah, the fines people were, but they weren't much help. They just gave a basic, thing.
Yeah.
But that was something new I learned.
That is interesting, though. But this was 1983.
Yep.
In California.
Yeah. And, what was it? We were in Fremont. Crap, we've moved around a lot.
A lot, yeah.
A whole lot.
That's all right. But yeah. Just if anybody can think of anybody that they knew who was Korean, we don't really have any idea on age, but she wouldn't have been the sort of person that would have gotten into a car with a stranger, really, would she?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so, because I know I'm leery of strangers, but then again, she was a friendly girl, so...
Yeah.
Well, it's like we just talked about in the Beaumont episode, a stranger to you or I could be a guy that she's seen every day for months, and you feel like you know someone, right? When you...
Or, let's think about all those women who tried to help Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And it could have been, somebody because she knew a lot of people at the apartment complex she was last seen at. The guy she used to get weed from, complex. he was questioned, and he said, yeah, she bought weed from me. Big deal.
Yeah.
And so it's been somebody from the apartment complex or somebody that she saw at the friend of a friend of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, do you know where so-and-so is? And she could have been like, yeah, let me take you to him. And,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, anything could have happened, and, you know.
But if any of this strikes a bell with anybody listening who might have been around in the early 80s, knew someone around that area.
Yeah, her friend still puts up flyers every April and December in that area. Mm. They do it on Kellie's birthday and the anniversary of her death. They put up flyers in that, where that gas station is. She still puts up flyers there.
Just can't give up hope. Thank you so much for sharing her story with us.
Thank you. Thank you, really.
Thank you for listening and putting up with me.
No, it was our pleasure. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
Hopefully some good comes of it, and, you know.
You find the answers that you're looking for.
Yeah, and she gets...
Yeah, she gets justice, that's right. That would be the goal, really.
Really, especially during the last 2 years, I have a feeling that so many, like Annie said before, cases who we never thought will be saved could be solved.
Yeah.
And that's why, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have probably said with most cases, oh, there's just no chance it's ever going to be solved. They're never going to find out what happened. You just never know. You never know.
You never know.
And the good thing is that the DNA is there, that they have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it may not be today or tomorrow, but it could be next.
Might not be in our lifetime, might be in your daughter's lifetime, you know. But
it might be when my daughter's, you know, she may get the call, hey, we finally found your aunt's killer.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
And that's all I can hope for. And I wish my mom was alive to see this genotype, to know, because maybe she knows somebody. But my mom passed almost 13 years ago.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, she knows. She and Kellie know.
Yeah, they know.
They know. They're fine.
Yeah. Like, come
on.
Just
got to figure it out for the rest of us here.
And so, if anybody wants to be an armchair detective, be my guest.
Yeah.
Feel free.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you.